Okay, now we got all our primary colors picked for our palette, plus a black and white. I'll go over them with you. The two transparent colors, the characteristics of our palette for these colors. Ivory black is transparent, and cobalt blue is transparent. None of these are staining colors. Now, the opaque colors will be our titanium white, this one here, the bismuth vanadate yellow, and the cadmium red deep. I've already squeezed those out. Now, we're just now going to start considering characteristics when we start talking about mixing and stuff and the other pigments as we go along. This is what it looks like on my palette, the pigments I just spoke to you about. So we're going to discuss mixing all these pigments. We're going to start out with browns and earth colors. A word about browns. Most watercolor artists stay away from browns. As a matter of fact, they have a term for it. They call it mud in a tube. I'm not of that persuasion. To me, browns have a place in art and even in watercolor. So and I do a lot with earth colors and all the other pigments, but I do a lot more than most watercolor painters do with earth pigments. Okay, here's what I've done. I've taken the primary colors I just showed you, and I used the yellow, the red, and the blue, and mixed these browns and grays here. And then I went in and mixed a little bit of black with these, and these are the colors that we have. And then I went back in again and started moving over to one of the primary colors. This again is just the threes, yellow, red, and blue, and we get these colors. And then I did a blue shift over here, so we had a lot of blue. Now you can make browns with yellow, red, and black, and this is what you'll get here. And I did this so we could take these colors here and see if they related to any of the single pigment earth colors. Now, some of these are actual colors from semi-precious stones, garnet, the lapis lazuli, the azurite. Those are all semi-precious stones, which they've actually cut up and ground up into paint. Now, the normal, if you want to say normal, the most common earth colors are the umbers, which is burnt umber, and then we'll have a raw umber down here, which is just called umber, and then a greenish, which is another raw umber right here. I laid these out so they more or less are red, yellow, blue, and then the browns, the really dark browns. I'll just go over some of them very quickly. Hematite. Some of these are hard to find, but you can find them. The hematite violet, if you look very closely, which you probably won't be able to see on the camera, it has an iridescent, it's like little bright granular substance in it. And again, now the ochre's the oldest of them. They come in reds and blues and yellows. This is a red ochre, which also has a PR number, and another burgundy. This is English. This is burgundy. And then basically we have rust, red iron oxide, which they have designated as a brown, PBR6. And then we have catlinite. And then we have a natural red oxide, which is a different variation of this, and it's more transparent, and we don't have a pigment number with that. Piedemontite, and look at this beautiful red. It came from, this is rhodonanite. And you can see how some of the old masters picked up beautiful colors here. Italian yellow ochre, and and they call this PY, but it definitely has a red shift to it, because you look over here at this yellow ochre, which is also a PY43, another PY43, and another PY43. And you can see the difference in the color of all these PY43s, and some of them they've heated up, and some of them they probably processed a little bit differently. And then our standard yellow ochre, which you find in almost all paints, PY42. Another iron oxide, which they call a yellow, which still has a reddish cast to it. A blue ochre. This is difficult to find, it's almost black. Then of course our gemstones. And then another semi-precious gemstone, turquoise. Really, this is unusual to find this, but it's a beautiful color too. The earth colors. We've got a green earth, a rare green earth. And then we have a jadeite, all these greens. They're beautiful. Here's an amazonite. The manufacturer made these names up, but they're still a nice color. And then we have zoisite, and then the umbers. And then we have another iron oxide, PBR6, a lot darker. Hematite, a variation of this one up here, which has some red in it and violet. And then the Van Dyke brown, which you see a lot of that. Don't really care for this, it doesn't work well. Black tourmaline, and one of my favorites. There was a time, now this is not an earth color, this is just a discussion color, when they actually took mummies and ground them up for paint. And this is to simulate the color that they achieved when they actually ground up mummies. I mean, these guys in the old days grind up all kinds of stuff to make a paint out of it. But this manufacturer came back, and this works well here. Now, since I've mixed all these up, you can see certain relations between the single pigment colors and those which really are comprised of 3 or more pigments. This is 3 pigments, this is 3 pigments, this is 3, and this is 4. And when I try and line some of them up with what I see out here, you know, I can get close to some of these colors. And with enough practice, like this raw sienna matches up down here, you know, and I'm going to pick out one of these reds up here, this red oxide goes well with that. And the whole point of this is that with those 5 pigments, you can mix and simulate almost all these. Now the difference is that the optics, you know, of the single pigment are different. Some are more transparent, and with applied properly, will give a beautiful translucent or transparent appearance. Will actually look like a piece of glass. And all you're always going to get the same sort of finish, if you want to say that, and the same optical characteristics if you use all these 3 colors to mix your browns. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to talk about is mixing other colors and how I mentally perceive on how to use these pigments, the 5 pigments that we have, the black, the white, the yellow, the blue, and the red, to make all the colors that you could ever think of. And we're going to do that next after this presentation. So have a good look. I'm going to leave them here for a second so you can look at them, and maybe you can find one that you like, or you can mix your own. So enjoy your painting. Earth colors are nice. They can be just as beautiful as any of the other colors.